Hi, welcome to the Opinions That Matter. We have Himani Bishnoi again. She is a counselor, a therapist. She resides in the UK, right? So, we are going to talk about a very sensitive topic today. We are going to discuss about women and abusive relationships and how that impacts one's mental health and how a person can get out of it, how especially how women can get out of it. So yeah, Himani, would you like to introduce yourself before we start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Gulshan, for having me again. Of course, it's a pleasure. So I am a counseling psychologist. I work with National Health Services in the UK, and I've been in the field of mental health for the past 9 years now. And I am glad to be on this platform talking about one of the most relevant conversations that we are having as a society. I think abuse in relationships and in general form with a particular gender, women.
Yes. So what do you think, why do you think abuse is so rampant in our society? Why do you think it's so widespread?
I think it's there are lots of factors. It's very multi-layered in the way how it functions in our society and our culture. Also, I think first of all, from a very psychological perspective, I think abuse comes from a cycle of trauma. So I think a lot of people who have had that trauma as children continue to pass it on to next generations. So say for example, if somebody, if I am talking about a particular person, if they have seen their mothers being abused within their families, I think they will continue to follow that cycle or that pattern without thinking about if it is a correct behavior or if it is the right thing to do or not. So I would say it is to do with a lot of generational trauma, and there needs to be one person who sort of breaks that cycle. But again, it takes a lot of awareness, reflection, and capacity to engage with different perspectives and conversations to be able to understand that okay, something is going wrong here. So yeah, I think first would be that. Secondly, I would say that in our culture abuse is so normalized. I think just 2 days before, I think I was going through my Instagram and I saw a video wherein this boy was talking about his grandmother, and he was talking about how he was just teasing his grandmother and wanting to get her into trouble with his grandfather. So he said that I just randomly मैंने बस ये बोल दिया कि दादी मेरी बात नहीं सुन रहे हैं or something like that. And as an Indian society, we do understand that children are, specifically male boys, male children, are taken to be this apple of my eye in the whole family. So the grandfather took it so seriously that he had a proper fallout with the grandmother. एंड दैट बॉय सेड कि हमारे में फॉल आउट जो होता है वो वर्बल नहीं होता.
Hmm.
And I was taken aback by that statement. And yeah, later he was just having a conversation how his grandmom was so subdued and was so much in need of feeling heard that she kept telling stories to him every now and then, and just she was just wanting to be heard in that moment. But she kept going through that cycle of abuse from her husband. So I think, yeah, it is so normalized to treat your partner in a particular way that and it is also seen as form of love in certain ways, which is so unfortunate and saddening. I think there has been a long debate about how women are also showcased and represented in films as this weaker gender, who will put up with somebody slapping them, who will put up with somebody being extremely rude or insensitive towards their needs, or just calling it are you on your periods conversation. So I think it also gets passed on from that. And besides that, I think a lot of people are going through mental health issues. They don't know how to regulate their emotions. So a lot of people, when they're angry, I think the easiest way to take it out is on the immediate person that you are living with. Maybe it's and unfortunately it is with your partner only. So you take out the frustration. And we also live in a society where there is cutthroat competition. A lot of opportunities are not provided to individuals, like financially, socially. So because of these restricted opportunities in socio-cultural environment. I think a lot of people are not able to process their feelings in a healthy manner. So they think that if they pass on those feelings and channelize it by hitting or through physical violence or maybe abusing their partner or just making them feel bad about themselves or making like just boosting their ego because they have put down their partners, I think it really creates that whole cycle again, that I feel good because you're not okay, I am okay. At least there is some space where I can feel okay, that I'm good enough. And that is very unfortunately by putting the other one down. So I think, yeah, it's also, the glorification and the patriarchy, that I am a masculine figure and I am somebody who people will look up to and I can have everybody in control. It is more about dominance and control that one gender wants to feel towards the other one. They don't know better, I think. They don't know any other way to exist rather than do this. Again, this is also a cycle of trauma wherein men have been trained to sort of bask in the glory of them being the powerful gender, and yeah, they can only showcase that by exerting control over the other one.
Right. What are some common signs of abuse in relationships?
Uh, Common signs. I think besides being a therapist, of course, a woman in her 30s. So we usually have a lot of conversations about relationships, dating, marriages. Uh, Usually it feels like that, you would always find that one friend in your circle who has lost all contact with her friend group because the partner is not approving of the friend circle, and that person feels that she has to abide by these rules of the relationship, that she has to fulfill all the needs of this person. So I think that's one sign. Isolation. If a person probably is asking you to cut off ties with people who are important to you, or who's probably asking you to give up your career, or say that, I need to do well in life and I would need your support, and I would need you to take a back seat, and I would need that emotional support. So the woman now feels that, okay, and women by nature, I think, are engineered in such a way that they would be those sacrificing individuals, that I need to put my partner in the first place, I need to prioritize his needs, and in case I'm not doing that, I'm looked down upon. A working mother, why do we have a title like working mother? Because why can't it be a working individual? Why do we have to gender that title again? In that aspect, I also see, like, a lot of our knowledge is also, represented on social media. I see so many people, after they come back home, you see videos of women, I like what I cooked for my partner in dinner after I came back home. So yeah, that really makes me think. As much as I appreciate and acknowledge the fact that they are doing this out of will, but I also understand the hidden and inherent mindset behind those behaviors, that you have to be a caregiver, you have to be a homemaker at the end of the day also. All of us, I think we have all seen that interview of Indra Nui, who became the CEO, and then she went back home, and while she was on the stairs, I think her daughter was like, or her husband, I don't remember exactly, was like, we don't have milk at home. So even after you have been made CEO of such a big company, all you get to hear is कि घर में राशन खत्म हो गया है. So yeah, like these are like very subdued and embodied aspects of patriarchy in our day-to-day conversations and day-to-day activities. So yeah, that's one thing. And besides that, I think physical abuse is, like, obviously it's very visible. If somebody is not respecting your physical space or your physical boundaries, I think that would count as abuse. So one has to be extremely mindful that it's just not, a pat on the back, or it's just not a slap, or if and it just doesn't happen just one time. So
Yeah,
please
and
stop,
mm,
yeah, giving that excuse that, the person was angry. And a lot of women, I've heard a lot of women say that, if not me, who? जो सबसे ज्यादा प्यार करता है वो ही आपके ऊपर गुस्सा भी निकालता है, and things like that.
that's such a
I think
lame excuse, honestly. And
absolutely, and it is so infuriating that this is not a form of love. And without naming anybody, I would say that we have all heard this famous director give an interview and say
Mm.
that if I can't slap my woman, I don't think love exists there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was so messed up.
That's
And
just,
people
yeah,
were reeling over his, character,
yeah,
over his
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
And that's so
absolutely.
normalized. I mean, I can see
Yeah,
around myself that it's so normalized that so what if
yeah,
he hits? It's okay.
yeah,
He loves
yeah,
also, he loves so much.
yeah,
Oh, this
yeah,
and that.
yeah,
That's so
yeah.
normalized.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's and and I'm not only talking about lower socioeconomic strata, because we have this convenience excuse of people not being educated and hence they don't
Mhm.
know, and hence women can't raise their voices. Uh, in one very simple instance, I think we have seen Satyamev Jayate also. It was a
Mhm.
huge show, and there was a particular episode dedicated to just abuse, and we heard stories about doctors. A woman was a doctor, and she was pushed down the stairs with the babies. uh, and the partner was also a doctor. It was a family of doctors. So it is not to do with your education, it is not to do with how financially well off you are in the society. It has to do with your mentality. It has
Mm.
to do with how you look at all these things, that it is so ingrained in our culture.
Mm.
And I seriously, I would not even say culture, because I am exposed to other cultures also, I would say that it is prevalent all across. But
All.
yeah, I can speak more about Indian society because I've lived there most of my life. So yeah, it's there. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of abuse also exists in financial independence. A lot of men would not like their partners to earn, because they feel that if the woman starts working and if she becomes financially independent, what else would she be depending me with? And what would I do? And you take away that option of the woman take making her own choices, handling her own finances. And that is how this is also a sign of abuse for a lot of people if they don't recognize that. And yeah, we have heard all those terms like gaslighting, emotional manipulation. So a lot of times people would make you feel like you are an insane one, that you are making up all these issues in your head. I have seen so many men talk about
In
the
your head.
fact that sorry.
It's all in your head, the classic
इट्स
line.
ऑल इन योर हेड, एक द क्लासिक लाइन, इट्स ऑल इन योर हेड. एंड मैं तो अगले दिन भूल जाता हूँ, तुम हर चीज को इतना दिल से लगा के क्यों रखती हो, एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट. सो यू automatically shift the responsibility to the woman, that you are thinking way too much and all I'm doing is having fun in life and you should learn to take a joke.
Yes.
um, and that is extremely pathetic and ridiculous. And how I hate the fact that we have all these wife jokes all
Yeah.
around. बेचारा, कल आज खुश है, कल शादी हो जाएगी तो फिर इतना खुश नहीं रहेगा.
Mm.
And things like that, I don't think it's funny. And I don't think it's in good taste, because if things are said,
Misogyny. It's this
it's
misogyny.
misogyny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and people fail
Absolutely.
to recognize that if you have this conversation with somebody who has very lopsided idea of gender and sexuality, they would be like, "Oh, you are those feminist types who hate men and who can't really accept the fact that you are a weaker gender, and physiologically, women are supposed to be weaker than men."
Mhm.
But I don't think we are talking about physiology here. I think we are talking about equality. We are talking about opportunities. But यहाँ पे तो
Equitability.
opportunities ही नहीं है ना.
Again, equitability.
एग्जैक्टली इट्स नॉट. जब मुझे रिसोर्सेस ही नहीं मिलेंगे, जब मुझे कंसिडर ही नहीं किया जाएगा, तो कैसे? एंड स्पीकिंग फ्रॉम अ वेरी पर्सनल perspective, I can see how much misogyny is relevant in our society. I sat for an interview with a school in
Mm.
Uttarakhand, and that man who I was getting interviewed by categorically asked me that, "You're 28. So are you thinking of getting married and starting a family soon? And would you leave us then? How can we be assured of your commitment to us?" And I was like, you wouldn't ask that man a question.
Mm.
Yeah, like this was my reaction when I was asked that question, that you would never ask a man that question.
Mm.
Never. So it is extremely saddening and heartbreaking that these conversations are, again, so we are so misgendered at times, and things are always in the benefit of somebody who looks and who is touted to be the stronger gender, or somebody who is the head of the family, in a way. Like, why can't a woman be the head of family? And why do we have to call it man made, not human made?
Yeah.
And and things like that, I guess. So yeah, but like very subtle signs of abuse would be like in physical way, you will be extremely aware if it's happening. Emotional abuse is something that it's difficult to sort of understand that this is happening to you. But like isolation, emotionally getting manipulated, and just trust your instinct. If you feel that you are not feeling good enough or safe enough with this person, and you're constantly walking on eggshells, you're feeling extremely anxious, you're scared of asking this person anything, you're scared of making your own choices, you'll understand that this is not a space where you can be yourself, and this is not a healthy space to exist in. So these are like very small subtle signs, I would say, that one needs to look out for.
Right. So yeah, there is this thinking going on around nowadays. Even women think like this, elder women, that nowadays there are a lot of divorces happening. But you and I
Hmm.
both know that abuse was always there. It's not like it just started and then there are divorces happening. It was always there. Women have
Yeah, yeah.
started just taking a stand for themselves and leaving that situation, and that's why they are being blamed for uh, family ko tod diya. Yeah, you can't handle a mature relationship, ऐसे थोड़ी होता है। आजकल डिवोर्स भी इसीलिए तो इतने हो रहे हैं क्योंकि women are like this. I actually heard these kind of sentences around me so many times.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with you, Gursharan. And also, a lot of times people say कि आपको इतना पढ़ा लिखा के गलती करी, and you've become so modern in your thinking now that you are breaking relationships. So yeah, again, I would say that it is a part of our cultural upbringing, again, that where women are seen as people who make sacrifices. And because taking a divorce deviates from the idea of a woman holding it all together, people are so scared of the fact that women are making their own choices now and getting out of those repeated abuse cycles and patterns. And like, it is not happening right now, just because women have gotten their wings now and they are doing all these things just to prove the other gender wrong. It's not like that. Abuse has existed for a long period of time. It's just that there has been, I would say, more refined way of looking at these things now, and women are being more empowered to make their own decisions. They are more financially independent, and they are, getting themselves to the point that where they think that if they have to look after their own mental well-being and they have to stand up for themselves, they have to make the tough decision at the end of the day. Also, in a lot of ways, because women now, in some small little ways, are getting opportunities to have more access to employment and earn their own money. I think they have gotten this courage and this strength to break out of these relationships now. And I also feel that at the end of the day, we should not look at divorce as the end of a relationship. If two people are unhappy together, and if they continue to live with one another, we are not propagating the idea of, oh, relationships are so nice, oh, marriages are so wonderful, and we shouldn't look at divorce as blasphemy in any way. We are not Don't look at it from the angle of, oh, it's so sacred, how can you break it? It's not like that. If people are not happy together, it's good to part ways and live their lives happily as individuals, rather than come together and live an unhappy life with constant bickering and arguments, and then looking at options like let's have a baby, and we'll be happy together now, and let's buy a house, we'll be happy together now. So you'll constantly just chase happiness, but you're not happy together. Acknowledge that and move on, and it's all right. uh, of course, because there are lots of conversations around patriarchy also, and a lot of times, even men, I would acknowledge the fact that even a lot of men I have seen who have come around and said that, okay, if this is not working out, we'll part ways and we'll continue to coexist, we'll continue to co-parent our children if children are involved in the picture. So a lot of divorces are also amicable. We don't have to really look at it as breaking off a family. Come on, we are living in a 21st century, and I don't think uh, we need to really propagate the idea of family as a unit and
Mhm.
individuality as something that needs to be looked down upon.
Mhm.
uh, yeah, you just need to be independent and mature enough to make your choices, and women are more in charge and more in a position to take that decision these days, and they're not scared enough, I would say, which wasn't really the case before. But yeah, it's not like abuse never happened. It used to exist like for ages. It's always been there.
Right. So, as women, we surely need to realize that what is healthy and what is not healthy, and what we can accept in a relationship and what we shouldn't. So,
Mhm.
how can we become aware about it more?
About healthy relationships.
Yes.
Right. I think a lot of gateways have opened for these conversations also, but specifically, like, I don't think I can speak enough about boundaries. One has to have healthy boundaries, and that may look like having your own 1 hour time with yourself, doing your own activities, not engaging with your partner constantly 24 hours a day. It can be as simple as that. Two, maybe choosing to have different bank accounts because you want to keep your money separately, you want to keep your partner's money separately, and just have a healthy agreement that we would continue to make a life together, we would continue to equally contribute to whatever expenses we have, but at the same time we need to respect the fact that we are two different working individuals and we can handle our own money the way we want to. It can be very simple, like on a very financial note, I would say. But at the same time, like what I was speaking about earlier, isolation, having your own circle, not looking at fights as a blame game or victim blaming, that you are the person, if you wouldn't make me angry, I wouldn't be this monster, and things like that. So creating that boundary and recognizing your self-worth most of the time, that despite your relationship not being the ideal one right now, it doesn't reflect anything about your self worth. You can continue to be a fantastic and an amazing individual, but may have very unhealthy relationship also. And it's okay to take a step back and be like, I want to reevaluate, and I really want to reflect on whether I want to continue with this or not. Um, so yeah, I would say boundaries is important. If it is keeping your individuality intact, or if you are getting blended with the identity of this another person, that you now left your job, you are willing to shift to another country for this person, and this person is not even sure whether this person wants to be with you or not. And yeah, like I've heard stories where people are like, I shifted for this person to another city, and then after 4 5 months the person was like, I don't think we are compatible enough. And yeah, the relationship is no longer there now. And but yeah, like if you continue to like date for 3 years 4 years, how can you at the end of the day say that we are not compatible? So for 4 years, what were you doing? So yeah, I think these mixed signals also, this is also unhealthy. If you want something out of a relationship, and if that doesn't align with what the other person thinks, it's all right. We have no judgments about that, but at least be clear and honest with each other. Have that clarity. Don't keep one another hanging, and don't be unsure. Mixed signals are the worst thing, I think, and that does not account for a healthy relationship. Also, I think a lot of people have a lot of insecurities. Acknowledge it, talk about it, but don't let it override your relationship. If another person has some insecurity or has had failed relationships in the past and feels that my partner would probably leave me, that is their area of work, that is something that they have to work on. You don't have to give yourself to this person and say that I will not meet my male friend because it makes you feel uncomfortable. I will make you read all my WhatsApp messages because you feel unsure that I might be talking to some stranger guy. No, we don't really have to give access to our private or personal life to our partner just to prove that we are loyal enough. So you don't, it's not an employer subordinate relationship wherein you have to prove your worth to your partner constantly, or your love also. And like what I was speaking about in a previous question also, that sometimes people look at abuse as a form of love and toxicity as a form of love. And in modern dating and in day-to-day relationships, we have come to realize the fact that people often really like the chase. And this is how your brain works. It's the neurochemistry. If I am chasing a person, if there is that adrenaline rush constantly, which reminds me of another childhood trauma, and yeah, that will open up another conversation altogether, so I wouldn't go in detail there. But yeah, it triggers something in me and I chase that person. That is not love. That is you wanting to sort of satisfy one need of yours. What one should look out for in a healthy relationship is sense of safety and sense of grounding, and where you can be yourself. You don't have to mute parts of yourself just to make this other person happy. Again, another idea, this person's happiness is my happiness. No, your happiness is your happiness, and you take responsibility for your own happiness. If you put that much responsibility on another person to make you happy, then you are putting that person in charge and in control. And you can't really be sure whether that person would be in a good mood all the time, would be in a space to take care of you all the time. Then it is becoming very contingent. So you take care of your happiness, the other person takes care of their happiness, and as a unit, as a couple, you take care of your shared goals. And that can again be very different from what individual goals you have. So yeah, I would say that too. And yeah, another really toxic sign of an unhealthy relationship would be just casually remarking about your partner's abilities. Like, sometimes people have these comments that, you are not very technologically advanced, you're not good with maps, you can't drive a car, like very sexist remarks. And in usual conversations we see a lot of casual sexism. So if you find yourself at the other end of your partner's jokes constantly, understand there's a fine line between good humor and putting somebody down or insulting humor. So understand how your partner is talking about you in front of 10 other people, and how you are feeling when you are with your partner's group of friends or circle. If you are not feeling as valued or as acknowledged or as heard as you would want to, I think that's also another important sign.
Yeah. Also, it's so normalized. It's very hard to differentiate, what is healthy and what is not, because so many people around us just normalize abusive behaviors.
Hmm,
So,
hmm,
what are
hmm.
some other signs and misconceptions, sorry, myths and misconceptions you think people have about abusive relationships?
Yeah, like it borrows from the idea of what you just said, Gursharan, also that a lot of people cannot bifurcate between abusive relationships and healthy relationships, because the idea is that abuse is always physical.
Hmm.
It's not. Abuse is also emotional, it is mental, it is financial, sexual. So many types of abuse exist. So no, if you think that if somebody is just slapping you, hitting you, or being physically aggressive towards you, that's only abuse, it's not like that. We spoke about a lot of things initially also. I think those also account for majority of how abuse exists in the society. Again, being emotionally manipulated, being made to feel like you are not good enough, or you are making things up in your mind that you are emotionally too drained all the time, and you are too much, and you expect too much out of the relationship, and you're too emotional. So things like that also. So yeah, I would say one of the major misconceptions is that abuse is only physical. I think I've heard a lot of people say that if you were cognizant of the idea that you were being abused, why didn't you leave? It's not easy. It's a myth that it's a misconception where people feel that it's easy to leave a toxic relationship. It's definitely not. It takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of strength, and it takes a lot of time with your own self to be able to realize that now you are in this cycle, and you need to break away because you become so dependent on that. A lot of times people stay in toxic relationship because they feel that that is the only kind of love that they deserve, and that has to do with a lot of their own childhood trauma and their unconscious fears and insecurities also. So yeah, it's not as easy. I think I would recommend everybody to watch also, with a trigger warning. There is this series called The Maid on Netflix.
Yeah.
It talks uh, beautifully about emotional abuse and how one finds oneself constantly
Mm.
getting into that cycle again and again and again, and
Mm.
how it is not easy to break out.
Mm.
Because it is not only about social emotional things, that I am not only thinking about what would my kid think, how would my kid be raised if I leave my partner. It is also about your own self esteem. Do you feel equipped enough that you will be able to lead your life without your partner in the picture? You have lived with this person for 15 years, you're so used to him or her. And I'm again not talking about one particular gender here. Abuse is also felt by men, and
Yes.
this is again another misconception that abuse only exists with women. No, it
Mm.
is also experienced by men. A lot, and we have again heard a lot of stories. I think there was a recent incident only where a man killed himself because he was under a lot of pressure. I'm not sure how much, like, I can't really say if it is completely factual or not. I'm nobody to comment on that. But yeah, again, I would say that it exists with both the genders, or again, other genders
Mm.
that we have. Uh, so yeah, it's not easy to break out of that cycle. One has to be really, really empowered to be able to do that. And a lot of social support is also required in that aspect. One can't, in herself or himself or themselves, gather a lot of strength to just break out of it and just one fine day make that decision. Okay, I'm going to leave. That doesn't happen. uh, Again, I would say that if the other person, if you loved me enough, I will not be abusive. That's again another myth.
Mm.
Abuse and love, they are not mutually exclusive, they exist completely separately. Yeah. uh, it's just a form of dominance and control. It is not an earmarker of love in any aspect. So if somebody is being abusive towards you, that doesn't mean that it has to do with how much they love you or how much love you provide to them. And people, I think, continue with toxic relationships also in this ideology, and tell themselves that I would love this person more, and this person will now have a sudden change of heart and will continue to love me more also, and there will be no abuse later. It doesn't happen like that. um, Another myth about abusive relationships, I think, would be that it has to do with, again, lower socioeconomic strata. It's not like that. It happens in high income environments also. It happens with extremely well educated individuals also, because again, it has to do with how one person thinks of the concept of marriage or relationships, or looks at their partner in a particular way, and what is their conception of a relationship, and how they look at themselves in that relationship also. So yeah, I think these are a few that are on the top of my mind.
Yeah. Thanks for telling us that. Yes, I wanted to ask how can people heal from abusive relationships? How can women find resources and the confidence to get out of them and recognize them? And how can therapy help in it?
I think, in terms of support and resources, I think, in India specifically, there are organizations working for domestic abuse victims. So there, I on top of my head, I can think of Swayam. I can think of Shakti Shalini. I think there is also something called Nari, which is like a repository of domestic abuse helplines and resources, and what else can you do. So a lot of development is happening for upholding the rights of women, and fighting for their freedom, and making them lead a life of safety and security. And in that, they also provide these women with shelter and resources, medical aid, health and well-being resources, legal aids to fight the cases, etc. Everything. And I think there are better reforms and laws being made to protect the rights of women and to report these cases in the first scenario. Again, I will say that it is a work in progress, but at the same time, at least some change is better than no change. So that is happening. So yeah, I would say that more awareness and more of these organizations creating repository of information which can be easily accessed by people who are at the receiving end of all these behaviors would be a good step. Besides that, when you speak about therapy, I think specifically for people who have been enduring abuse for a long period of time, I think it becomes very traumatic for them. So we have interventions and therapeutic modalities to help specifically with that, which can be trauma focused therapy or trauma informed care. If they have been physically abused also for years, maybe they will require an inpatient admission, and in that, trauma informed care would be really substantial. Trauma informed therapy, and that would inculcate the aspects of restoring their sense of safety, making them understand that it was not about them. A lot of people have a lot of guilt, and as women also, because they are raised in a particular way that they have to hold the family together, and if something is not right in the family, they are to be blamed because they couldn't do their job better. So a lot of that guilt and shame and self blame will be taken care of through therapy, where they can be empowered to look at these relationships and look at these difficulties in the aspect of uh, shared responsibility, that if a relationship breaks down, it is the responsibility of both the partners. And when we say, like, I think it also sort of takes care of your question about divorces in a way also, that if a relationship breaks down, it is not only the woman who's breaking it down. Excuse me, are you trying to say that it is only one person who is running the relationship? No, it doesn't happen like that. So yeah, like helping them understand that it took two people for that relationship to not work out, and it's completely okay. Not all people are meant to have a forever, and if that forever is toxic, it is good to break it apart. In very brutal terms, I would say. um, and in therapy also, a lot of skill building, because a lot of women, if they come from a background where they've not had education or any sort of skill training, equipping them with skills where they can feed themselves, or in case they have children, they can feed their children also. So maybe having those vocational training centers where victims of domestic abuse can be employed and they can be trained so that they can earn for themselves and become financially independent. That is also something that organizations do, and that is also that therapy also takes care of, making them realize their skills, their abilities, their potential
Mm.
through that modality. At the same time, restoring their sense of self-esteem, because they have been abused for such a long time, and if it was specifically emotional abuse, I can't really fathom the amount of damage that might be done to their sense of self. uh, so yeah, I think it will take a long period of time before they can understand that it was not about them, and they are completely a fulfilled individual, and it's all right if something like that happened. They don't really have to take responsibility for that, and maybe just have more hope for future, whatever that might look like. And yeah, at the same time, have confidence in their own decision making, because a lot of times you feel that, now I can't make any decisions in life because the one that I took, specifically, it was, if it was a love marriage, a lot of women will take the responsibility. Oh, I fought against my family also, I did this, I did that,
Mm.
but what did I get? So again, a lot of self blaming there, where they feel that they are not capable of making good decisions for themselves. um, so that self doubt, that will also be taken care of by therapy. But important skills would be to restore their sense of safety and trust and empowerment, to start with. And the other things, and those, just like in very therapeutic terms, those irrational thoughts, wherein you feel that you were not good enough for that person, or maybe why me, and I did not do something right because that relationship didn't work. So all those things would also be taken care of, and of course you would heal along the way. But there's no timeline to that, so one needs to give themselves time, patience, effort to be able to recover from it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's very common for us to, self-blame a lot of times. And it has been
Mhm.
happening with me for a really long time that there is a lot of
Mhm.
self-criticism, there is a lot of
Mhm.
self-shaming that, okay, maybe मैंने ही
Mhm.
कुछ गलत किया, maybe मैंने
Exactly.
ही नहीं किया, maybe मैं
Mhm.
ही गुस्से वाली हूँ or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mm,
that's
very
very
true.
common. That's very common, I think.
Yeah,
And I really
yeah, yeah.
hope, yeah, say.
Yeah, I think Gurshan, of course, because it is a, due to patriarchy, women are raised in such a way that they feel that they have to do anything it takes to make the other person happy. And if that doesn't happen, you feel that, if my standards are too high, am
तो
I
कुछ
expecting
मिलेगा
too much
नहीं.
out of this? Exactly, and you see it, as a punishment also at times. The
Mm,
bad behavior is a punishment because you were not a good partner, you were not a good wife. Because again, it is so cause and effect.
mm,
In that sense, it is so contingent that your husband will love you if you become a good wife. That is the
mm.
ideology that is propagated. You are raised with that.
Also, this
So,
ideology that women can change them, you know, this
rehabilitation
is very,
centers.
very, very much there.
Absolutely. Yeah, can't agree more. Can't agree more. And apparently you are supposed to give anybody benefit of doubt because everybody is a work in progress. So you give
Mm,
everybody the scope to become a better person. So you marry them even if you see red flags. No, people
mm,
will get better. Of course, I am not discarding the fact that people get better. Not everybody is perfect. But
mm,
you can't be demolishing the identity of another person and saying that, give me one chance so that I can be better. No,
mm,
you can't be like that. And specifically, if it was the other way around, would men give women that chance to become a better person? I don't think that happens quite often. A lot of times, if men are described as Casanovas and people who have
mm.
slept around,
Yeah.
it is seen as a badge of masculinity. And
Mm,
you call them a stud. And if similar thing happens with a woman, they are labeled as sluts. So yeah, these stereotypes about gender also are to be blamed, with regard to abuse. Why it happens? Because you automatically highlight parts of one gender in a very uh, domesticated way, in a
mm,
very submissive way, that one tends to feel that I have to do everything to keep it together. So of course
mm.
it is supposed to fall apart.
Right. This was a very
Yeah.
important discussion we had. I'm learning so much and I'm realizing a lot of things. Like, it was really good to have you on the podcast, and the conversations that we have is always so good. They're always so
Yeah,
good.
I'm
So
so
yeah,
glad.
I
So
really hope we can do this again on some other topic.
yeah,
Please, guys, let
definitely.
me know whatever you want to hear, and we can discuss
Yeah.
that also. I have a lot of topics in mind, honestly. So yeah, let's see.
Hmm.
Thank you, Himani. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the podcast. It was so
You're
lovely to have you
welcome.
again.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. Thank you.
Thank you.